What's up guys? Welcome back to the channel. My name is Justin and today we're finally doing our album review of Yes's album Relayer, which was released in 1974. This is their 7th studio album, so they have a little bit of experience under their belts. Of course, if you haven't, you can go back and watch all of my first listens and my first reactions to each of the tracks on this album, and this was a good one. This is where we find Yes at their most challenging, at their most experimental, and their most avant-garde. But the result that we get is an album that it takes a while to click, but when it clicks, it sticks. It's also on this album that we have the addition of Patrick Moraz on the keyboards replacing Rick Wakeman. And I really like this jazzy experimental tone that he brings to the songs, brings to the album as a whole. And I really enjoy what he adds to the band. I feel that he adds a much needed breath of fresh air. Not discounting Rick or anything like that, but it's just that he includes such an interesting perspective from his keys and what he brings into the songs here. And this album kind of takes the same format as their classic album Close to the Edge, in which it starts off on one side with a big epic. Here we got Gates of Delirium. And then it's followed by two shorter songs on the other side, Sound Chaser and To Be Over. And I feel like this album is Close to the Edge's younger brother that has a few like anger issues, feels a little bit edgy and a little bit angsty, but once you get to know him, he's actually pretty cool. Alan White, of course, the drummer of Yes, had said that we were very prog-minded and experimental in those days. He says we were looking for anything that sounded different. And I think that this album really captures that idea. Looking for something that sounds different, really progressing. They could have just taken this album, even taken the format of Close to the Edge that they've done before, and said, you know what, let's just do Close to the Edge too. But they didn't. They took risk in this album, and I think that's one of the things that I really appreciate about it. And it's a hard listen. I'm glad this wasn't the first album from Yes that I listened to. But once it clicks, I feel that it's going to be one of the most rewarding albums to listen to and to come back for repeated listens. We start off the album with their epic, The Gates of Delirium, which it does not retread the same waters that Close to the Edge or any of their other epics had done before. As of this moment, I haven't heard Tales from the Topographic Oceans, but this is a very experimental song. This is a song that does not stagnate. Stagnates? This is a song that does not stagnate. It does not sit still. It is constantly moving and evolving and pushing. There is a deep, perpetual change in this song that continues onwards throughout its 20-minute plus runtime. We are carried by Howe's almost omnipotent guitar playing. He's never stopped playing throughout the song. There's really not many moments where he's not doing anything. And you can feel that. There's a lot of texture in a lot of Yes's music, but especially in this song. There is a lot of texture. You can feel the players actually playing their instruments. You don't just hear them playing their instruments, you feel them playing their instruments. Squire brings the intensity on the bass playing. He has a lot of standout moments here. I was really impressed by the drumming here, especially in the war section of Gates of Delirium. I mean, everything is intense there. Everything is turned up, but I was actually really impressed by White's contributions on the drums, and not only keeping up with everybody, but really like powerhousing his way through this track. Can't forget John, who he sounds amazing throughout the whole song. He sounds especially interesting and nuanced in the verses of the song. Listen to the way he delivers the speech. It's almost like he's talking to the soldiers and trying to motivate and inspire them as they prepare for battle. There's a moth in here. If you've listened to a lot of Yes, you know that they're very positive. And it's really weird hearing John saying kill them and slay them and burn their children's laughter and all this stuff. But you know what? I mean, his voice brings it. Even though he has a very light and airy voice, it still has a certain intensity that he's able to deliver those kind of lyrics. The intensity is literally brought up to 11. We have Moraz and Howe just burning towards each other, just battling each other almost to the death. And the way that they continue to motivate and battle and challenge each other in this section is just really cool to listen to. It's really nicely done. And even though I feel like the main verses is between them, you cannot forget Squire and White, who are doing the drum and bass. I mean, drumming, like I said before, it's super intense. But listen to Squire's bass lines throughout this whole battle, and he is not slouching at all. He may not have chosen a side in the battle. He's kind of his own free party. But the way that he just charges in and rampages through and he's just ravaging the song. It's a really cool song to listen to, but that moment specifically is really, really challenging, but so rewarding. It captures war in a musical sense. From the chaos and the violence and the power and the struggling, it really captures all those ideas, I feel like, just musically in the battle. I even love the inclusion of like clashing metal and crashing, which was said to be like stuff that they got from the junkyard and just like pushed over in studio and stuff and just recorded those sounds. I think that is so cool, and that's kind of the experimentation that I mean. Not only were they taking risks with this new avant-garde jazz fusion-ish sound that they were reaching for, but even including new things into the album, including new sounds in there. And I feel that they were really like pushing themselves. They were really wanting to take the next step. And the way that the battle ends, the way that the drums and White kind of slows the tempo down, builds up the intensity, and then releasing into this beautiful riff, especially with Mraz on the keyboards, adding this nice Twilight beautiful effect on there, and it just kind of dances around. It feels like a starry night, the way that it explodes out of this battle. It's almost like after the fog of war has cleared and after the fires on the battlefield have kind of burned away, we kind of get this nice aftermath of after the battle and after everything has been fought. And it feels so euphoric. It feels like this nice big release after that intense section. And then from there, we move into probably one of the most beautiful moments and beautiful parts of the song, of the whole album, possibly in Yes's career, the titled Soon ending of the Gates of Delirium. And it is just this beautiful moment. And I can't say beautiful enough, but it is just this beautiful moment in which Hal just allows the lap steel guitar, just allow that to like flow through you. It is so emotionally charged. It feels so good. I feel like that literally hits your heart. That literally touches your heart. Like you can feel that go through you. This is just a side thought, but I feel like Dream Theater in their song Octavarium, I feel like they got some inspiration from this. I'm not sure, and I'm not claiming, but listen to it, and there's some sections in that kind of sound like this. That is one of the most melodically invested sections in the song. It really does give me chills every time. That is a beautiful, beautiful piece. And of course, we have John once again singing this beautiful, haunting, and kind of somber tone. I think that The Gates of Delirium is really an unmatched masterpiece of a song and a welcome, more than welcome, addition to Yes's discography. I've watched a lot of live versions, by the way, of the song, but I highly recommend, and I'm sure everyone probably has already, but I highly recommend watching the Symphonic Live 2001 version. That is fantastic. The addition of the orchestra, oh, yes, yes. And then we get into the first song that I had heard on this album, which is Sound Chaser, which, as far as I can tell, like I said, I haven't heard everything from Yes, but as far as I can tell, this is the most challenging Yes song that I have heard thus far. It is the most avant-garde, most experimental, most abstract, but can I spoil something for you? It's actually my favorite song on the album. I cannot get enough of this song. From the opening, which I love how Mraz came up with that. This was like his first time in the studio. He just came up with that and they were like, we like that. To the entrance of everybody, and then Squire. It's just such an intense opening that from the first few notes, you were like, what just happened? The way that Squire and White just charge out of the gates, how leading up behind them, bringing in the rear. If there is any space in this song, Yes explores it. There's space in this song. There's walls in this song and barriers and limits. But Yes is not content to stay still. They are not content to sit still. They are going to explore those boundaries, push those limits, and see what they can do. And that's something that I really appreciate about this song, is that it's willing to push those boundaries and it's willing to experiment. And then you have that middle section with Hal's solo that, I don't know, I think that some people may feel like it's out of place and that it kind of goes on too long. I don't know. Who are you people? I love the intensity and the drama that it brings. The way that it slows down and charges up. That little section alone feels like a mini Gates of Delirium in just the way that it plays with emotion. And then I love the way that it builds up with Alan on those big drums. Boom, boom, wah, wah. Like, it's such a superb ending to it that feels like a nice symphonic closure. But of course, that's not the end of the song, because it just keeps on bouncing and rupturing and erupting and going back and forth. It never stops. And we get into one of my favorite moments in this song, which my first listen, this was so random. But the cha-cha-chas, listen, I like it. Yes is a band that breeds positivity. They don't always use words that make sense. Sometimes they just allow sound to speak. And them doing the cha-cha-cha, cha-cha, like, I like it. It works so well in the positivity, in the upbeat and uplifting nature of their song. And to me, it actually empowers the song. So yeah, Sound Chaser is my favorite song on the album. I love the album as a whole, but Sound Chaser feels like they're actually chasing sound. Now, I feel like if Sound Chaser was the band chasing the sound that they wanted, chasing and breaking those limits, To Be Over is probably them catching that sound and like finally taking a breath, like trying to catch their breath. This is probably one of Howe's most underrated, understated moments with the guitar, with the lap steel guitar, the sitar. The music just rises and breathes, and it's just these waves of calm and relax and serenity. The way that he plays the pedal steel guitar and the sitar in this song are very moving, and I like the way that it's done as well. The way that Yes was able to bend their music according to these sounds, I think speaks volumes to their professionality, if that's a word, and their artistry. The whole band really takes you on this beautiful dream. They pretty much like lie you in this nice little rowboat and then just like gently sail you away. And you're just left kind of rocking on the waves. The guitar, of course, washing over you. Mraz washing over you with these beautiful keys. John's lullaby vocals will just kind of rock you and lull you to sleep. And then near the ending of the song, it becomes a little bit more playful. It becomes just a little bit more upbeat, but it never loses its heart. And I like how the band will then come in with these big and nice harmonies just to kind of round out the whole thing. This is a song that sets you sailing and sets you soaring. Now, let's get to the part that you've all been waiting for. I will move over just slightly so I can put some text over here on the screen. Let's get to my favorite lyrics, my favorite moments, and my favorite songs, or my song rankings. Also my paper ripped, so, you know, sorry about that. My favorite lyrics are from To Be Over, and they are as follows. Do not suffer through the game of chance that plays. Always doors to lock away your dreams. Think it over. Time will heal your fear. Think it over. Balance the thoughts that release within you. I think just that set of lyrics is a very beautiful verse sung by John. Don't worry about chance. Don't worry about the things that can happen. Balance your thoughts. Balance your fears. Pursue your dreams. Good things will come to you. And if they don't come to you, don't worry, don't overstress, don't overfret. Work on it, balance yourself, and work towards it. And even the words, think it over. Time will heal your fear, think it over. Sometimes we want to pursue things, sometimes we want to try things. It could be something as simple as trying a new restaurant. It could be something as complex as learning a musical instrument. But whatever fears you may have, whatever boundaries you may have, just like the band did in this album, work towards breaking them, work towards expanding them, and work towards building yourself. My favorite moment in the album, I had two. Well, I had one, and then I crossed it off and then came up with another one. So my first favorite moment is the opening of Sound Chaser. I just love the way it opens. I won't do it again, but the opening to Sound Chaser is one of my favorite moments in this album. My actual favorite moment in the album is going to be the ending to the battle in Gates of Delirium. I love the way that the drum slows down, gives it so much space. We get a little bit of phasing in there, and then the band just rips into it with these awesome riffs. Everyone's going 100%, and it's a very powerful moment, especially after such an intense battle that we heard just a few minutes prior. It starts at about 12:40 in the song, by the way, in case you were wondering. And then my song ranking for the album, which is actually going to be really easy because there's only 3 of them, will be Sound Chaser, The Gates of Delirium, and then To Be Over. All of them are very strong songs though. I don't know what it is exactly. It's the way that they pushed boundaries, but I love Sound Chaser. I think that is I know that is my favorite song on the album. Gates of Delirium is like, you can't even see it. is just like a tiny bit lower, and it's barely lower. I would even say like they're pretty much equal. And then To Be Over, I think, is a beautiful ending to the whole album. It's a little indistinct. It's a little like not as flashy, but I think that that's what you need on an album like this, where the first two tracks are just so much. You need a track to kind of pull you back a little bit. So my final thoughts on the album are pretty much this. This is a roller coaster of an album, with all of the loops, with all of the inertia and all of the stomach in your chest feelings. It has all of that, but it does it in such a tasteful and emotional way that it never becomes upsetting. It is just this impactful emotional ride from the beginning to the end. And yes, it is a little more abstract and experimental, and perhaps a harder listen than some of their other albums. But I don't feel like that's a negative. I actually feel like that's the uniqueness that they were looking for in this album. Because you may not listen to it as much as some of the more accessible albums, but I think that when you do listen to it, you're going to find so much layering in it. You're going to find so much depth in it that it's always going to be superbly rewarding. The whole album is incredibly balanced as well and produced, which I think would make Thanos very happy. Each member is really reaching and trying to lengthen their stride, and they really take pride as they do it. I thought the album title was interesting, Relayer. To relay specifically is to pass on or transfer. This sounds like they're trying to pass on perhaps from where they were before and move into waters that are uncharted, move into something a little more complicated and undiscovered, and try and find the treasures there. Leaving behind the old, leaving behind the things you've already done, and pursuing new goals, pursuing new dreams, and finding those dreams. So I think that this is a really nice album. I enjoyed it. This is a near perfect album, and to be honest, it's one of the most complete, balanced, and powerful ones that I've heard from them thus far. Guys, I hope that you enjoyed the album review. Of course, we have some subscriber goals over here if you are interested. You can like and share the videos, and I absolutely implore you to do that. Of course, you can donate to the channel as well, but you don't have to. I honestly just hope that you enjoyed the video and any of the other videos here on the channel. You can join me on Twitter. You can join me in the comments down below. I hope you have a fantastic day, guys, and I'll talk to you tomorrow. Bye.